In this tutorial, what we're going to do is take a look at the next lesson in the game of life. Now, one of the things that people often don't realise is that one day they're going to grow into an adult, and as a result of that, you're going to have to get a job, and along with jobs also come lots of different types of bills. So across the space of this topic, what we're going to do is look at how much it actually costs to live in a house in real life with everyday real life costs and bills and income and outgoings, and we'll see how easy it is to go overdrawn and the consequences of doing things a bit like that. So in this first session, what we'll do is we'll look at work. Everyone's going to end up with a job, and one of the hardest things to do is to launch a career, because at the beginning, when you first go out to work, you haven't really got any experience, and you need experience to get a job, but you can't get a job because you haven't got any experience, and it's a vicious cycle. So let's look at some different options, and we'll see what's available to us. We're going to need somewhere to store all of this. So I've made a template just here, which you're going to pick up. So let's download that now. I'm right-clicking, going down to Save Link As. It'll come up with my H drive like that, and hopefully you're in your computer science folder in your H drive into year 9 and into Game of Life. You should have a folder for that from the previous lesson. I'm going to call this one Budget 1, I think, because we're going to do some more of this in a future lesson. And then once that's downloaded, you'll want to load up Excel. And once you've got Excel loaded up, you're going to be able to go into Open, Browse, into Computer Science, into Year 9, into Game of Life, and open up your budget sheet. Now, we're going to need to make some changes to this once it's finished, and at the moment the actual spreadsheet is locked. So if I try and make changes, there's me typing, I can't. That's because this is in what's called protected mode, and that's indicated by this yellow strip across the top of the screen just here. So before you can make any changes, you're going to have to click on Enable Editing. I can now make some changes. In a second, we're going to look at this left-hand column just here. We're going to try and work out what our monthly and weekly take-home pay is going to be from these different jobs. But we need some jobs that exist in the real world to go and compare. So what we're going to do is this. I'd like you to open up Indeed. There's lots of different job search engines that you can use on the web. This is just one I've chosen really at random. I'm going to open that in a new browser tab. So I can right-click on the link, open in New Tab, and that'll take me to the Indeed landing page. And what we're going to do is we're going to look for some jobs, not so much about about what, but we're more interested really in where. We want jobs that are available in the local area. So I'm going to type in the Bourne Grammar School postcode, which is PE109JE, like that, and I'm going to click on the Find Jobs button. Now, this is going to come up with lots and lots of different jobs in quite a big radius of the school. I'm actually going to whittle that down a little bit to about a 15-mile radius instead, so that'll be enough to throw us into places like Peterborough, which is a fairly big city, and some of the other towns that wrap around Bourne. So that should be fairly realistic. If you're going your first job, you probably don't really want to have to travel an enormously long distance. So let's take a look at some of the jobs here. I'm just going to try and pick out 3. Now let's remember as well, and that's quite glamorous, isn't it? Now let's have a look. Now bear in mind, at the moment, in our simulation that we're doing, in our simulation, you've just left, let's say, school, or just left university, so at the moment you don't have any experience of doing much of anything. So for example, this is lovely, it says Typhoon Simulator Instructor Pilot. Now on the face of it, that sounds like a wonderful job, but the chances are that you're probably not a qualified pilot. Okay, so again, you would need to be an ex-Fastjet pilot to qualify for that, so unfortunately we can't have that particular job. What else have we got in here? Let's have a look. So it says part-time bounty representative, that's the next job. It says you'll need to be able to drive. Well, there's no guarantee you'll necessarily be able to do that straight out of university. You might, but then we can't guarantee it, so let's leave that one for a second. What else have we got? Driving license desirable. Okay, well that's a possible then. Okay, so that's our first possible. So I'm just looking, I don't really worry too much about what the job involves in detail particularly. All we're going to do for this, because it's really a mathematical model, is I'm just going to take down the job title, which is support worker, and the wage, which is £7.25 per hour. So I'm going to go onto my spreadsheet, and job 1 is going to be support worker. Okay, my hourly rate, £7.25 per hour, like that. Now, some jobs will tell you an hourly rate, other ones will tell you a salary. And we'll try and find one that does that, and I'll show you how to deal with it. I'm just going to pick 2 others up very quickly now. My next one after that, what have we got? Got nursery assistant, that sounds okay. Let's click on it and see if we can find the salary. Okay, this particular one doesn't actually tell you the pay. So in real life, you'd have to phone them up and you'd have to ask how much the pay is, but we haven't got time for that now, so I'm just going to cross that one off and move on to another. Let's have a look. This one's a driver's job, so it probably won't be us. Driving license essential, that probably won't be us. Medical secretary, that sounds okay. Okay, so just looking through, just trying to find a competitive salary, so I don't think they're going to tell us how much that pays. Nope. Okay, I'm just trying to find some that have got it. Print apprentice, that sounds okay. Okay, this one here, that's £132 a week. This is an apprenticeship, so that's certainly one way of learning a particular trade. So that'll take you 2 or 3 years, and then once you're qualified, your pay will then go up as you become a professional printer. So that's one to explore there, £132 a week. Let's go into our spreadsheet and pop that in. I'll make another column, I think, actually. And we said 132, I think, didn't we? And last one. Bar persons, that's working in a pub. That might be something that's got a salary on it. No, doesn't say the pay. Again, you don't have to take the first 3 that you find. Input administrator, that's not bad. That's data entry usually. That's usually pays quite well. Again, I don't want to say. Again, it might take you a little while. This is why we do these things live, just so you can get the idea that even me doing it. In fact, let's take one driving job. Let's go with this delivery driver job here. This is full time for Domino's Pizza, and it's £10 an hour. Okay, so let's take that one. So that's pizza delivery, and that's £10 an hour. Lovely job. Okay, so we've found ourselves 3 different types of job that we've got just here, and what we're going to need to do is to try and just fill in a blank. So we've got a blank just here. Okay, now a normal working week for someone is working 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock, and what's normal standard practice is 30 minutes of breaks per day. That's pretty standard, unpaid usually. So that means that in a 5-day working week you work 37.5 hours. 37.5 hours. So to get the hourly rate for this job here, I need to take the weekly pay and divide it by 37.5. So equals 132, I could click on that cell, that would work as well, divided by 37.5 equals £3.52 per hour. The apprenticeships don't tend to pay as well as the full-time permanent jobs, but the important thing about the apprenticeships is it means that you are getting training and you'll be able to watch your pay go up with time. So, with all this in place, we can now actually work out what our weekly wages are going to be. Okay, because what you'll tend to find with jobs is some jobs you get paid weekly, and some jobs you get paid monthly, and you'll find one or the other when you start working. So we're going to try and fill in some of these gaps just here. Let's pause for a second, have a quick look at Born to Code, and see how far we've got so far. So back on Born to Code. So we've looked and we've found some jobs with some hourly rates like this, and what we also want to do as well is we're going to try and work out how much tax we're going to actually need. Okay, so let's do that and let's calculate our actual salary. So one of the first things we're going to do is come down here. Look, we actually get some instructions. So it says here, find cell C6 and type in the following, equals C3 times C4. Let's go and have a look at that. So this is cell C6, and it's saying to do equals this one here times this one here, and hit enter. So what that tells me is if I did have a job that paid £6.70 an hour, then I did a full-time job, then each week I would earn £251, okay, and at the end of that week what I would probably see is I'd expect to pay around about a third of that out in the form of tax. So if I get paid that much and I lose that much in things like tax and national insurance that your teacher will tell you all about, how much money do you actually get given at the end of your week's work? Well, it's going to be this, take away this. So in here we go, equals that one, take away that one, and hit enter. So in 1 week, the amount of money you actually get to take home is that for 1 week's worth of work. Again, it might be useful to see that over the space of a month, because again, a lot of places pay you monthly. In the average month, there's around about, again, it tends to vary, but there's on average about 4.5 weeks in a calendar month. So that's a pretty good approximation we can use. So it's the amount per week multiplied by, that's the asterisk, 4.5. So that multiplies the two together. So every month, if you were getting paid monthly, then once a month, usually about the 1st or sometimes about the 21st, you're going to get paid this much money. And then finally, it might be useful to know how much money you're actually making per year. So we know there's 12 months in a year, or there's 52 weeks in a year. We can do it either way, and we can get an annual calculation in there. So equals this one times by 52, and that tells me that in 1 year I'll be £8,710, a little bit better off. So that's a good way to do it as well. I thought it might be really nice now to actually change some of the variables and look at what each of these different jobs actually give you as a overall annual salary. So let's start with the best paid of our jobs, which is the pizza delivery job. So if that is full time, that'll be 37.5 hours a week at £10, like that. So the pizza delivery person is going to be taking home around about £13,000 per year. Okay, so each month they'll take home about £1,100 in pay. On the other end of the spectrum, our print apprentice, who's just learning a trade so that one day he'll hopefully be able to go on to earn more, he'll be getting this. Let's have a look. Okay, so in the year he's actually only going to take home just under £4,600 in a year. Let's look at a bit more calculation work this time. You see, what might be quite useful would be to work out what some of these annual salary jobs earn instead, because all the work we've seen so far pays on an hourly rate. So let's try and do some of these. I've got an example here of someone who's offering a job that pays £15,000 per year. Well, let's start with the days of holiday in a year, because you don't work 365 days of the year. So in terms of the actual hours that we work, it would be useful to know what we're working for as an hourly rate. So how many days holiday are there in a year? Well, an employer can offer you any number of days holiday that they want, okay? But there is a legal requirement of the absolute minimum that you can give someone. And I've got to say, most jobs, that's probably not fair actually, many jobs, let's say, will offer you that. And so, for example, in the UK, if you're employed full-time, then by law, you're entitled to 28 days of paid holiday per year. All right, 28 days per year. Now that's going to include things like Christmas Day and bank holidays, so those are all then there as well. Okay, weekends and things aren't included. So so if you're working a full-time job, you're entitled to 28 days a year. So we can actually put it in here. Let's assume we are getting the standard 28. The next thing we need to know is how many Saturdays and Sundays are there in a year? Well, there's 7 days in a week, aren't there? And 5 of them are working days, and 2 of them aren't. So I suppose we could do a quick calculation. We could say something like equals. There's going to be 52 weeks worth of weekends, so 52 times 2, because one of them's a Saturday and one of them's a Sunday. So there's 104 Saturdays and Sundays in a year in total. So what that means is that in terms of working days per year, let's go with that. That's days in a year, that's 365. Hours worked a day, 7.5, that's fine. Next we need days worked in a year. So if there's 365 days in a year, and you can take away the weekends, and you take away the holiday days, like that, then in a day, a person who works full-time actually works 233 of the days in the year. So what's left now is to calculate a daily pay rate and an hourly pay rate for that based on that salary. So if we know that in a year, in 233 days worth of work, we're earning £15,000, we can say that it's going to be £15,000 divided by 233 days, and that'll tell you what each day you're earning. So each day this person here goes to work on £15,000 a year, they're actually going to take home about £64.38. We haven't paid any tax on this yet. Whenever you see salaries quoted, they're always before tax. And then finally we need the hourly rate. So if we know we take that in one day, that day consists of 7.5 hours of work. It's going to be equals that one divided by 7.5. Boink. So this particular person is working for the equivalent of £8.58 per hour. Okay, that's the advertised rate, just like all these ones here. So if we did have that job, that would be 15k a year. So we can imagine job 4 at this point, and let's imagine it was doing something else. Let's imagine a really, really fabulous job. You could be. I'm just going to make something up for a second. Let's go with astronaut. And let's imagine for a second, let's put astronaut, well, I better have. Okay, let's go with astronaut, and let's imagine that they're going to be on an annual salary of £60,000 per year. I'm just making this up, I have no idea what astronauts earn. Okay, then we could see that that particular person, our astronaut, is working for £34 every hour, and then we can take that number there, plug it in just here, £34, 33 pence per hour, plug that in there, and it tells us that every week our astronaut that I've just designed, I'm sure it's meant to be a no, our astronaut's going to be able to take home £860 a week, or to put it another way, they might be able to take home about £3,800 a month, which works out to about £44,000 a year, which, as you can see, is absolutely spot on because you lose about a third of your pay in terms of tax. So that's the actual amount you take home. So you earn this much, pay lots of tax, and you take home this amount of money here. In reality, tax is a little bit more complicated than assuming that you're going to go and spend and lose around a third. The amount of tax you pay actually goes up as you earn more and more and more money as a percentage of your salary. So this really is very, very rough and ready. There's more accurate ones that are available with links on our website, so you can take a look at those. So over to you now. What you're going to need to do is, having completed all of these just here, you're going to have to then go and do some calculations for yourself. So I'd like you to try and work out the hourly rate for someone on £20,000 a year and take a screenshot. And to get a gold one, what I'd like you to do is to go online and research the average UK salary. It changes every year. And I want you to work out what that is as an hourly rate and how much the average UK worker takes home as their take-home salary. Final question is this, working backwards really. I'd like you to see if you can work out the pre-tax, as in before you pay any tax on it, salary of a person earning £30 per hour. See if you can do that. And again, screenshot the answer, work it out on a spreadsheet, and then you can collect the badge. So coming up next time, we'll look at budgets. I'll see you then.